Hi, welcome to my workshop. My name's Darren. Previously on 3D Prints in the Workshop, I made up this cool little frame for routing different templates. The frame itself would accept different templates and therefore make it a bit more versatile and be a large enough surface area to be able to balance a router on. And I did promise at the time that I would make more templates, so I have. I've made a series of hearts that fit in, like so. Each one 3mm smaller than the previous. Now you could just use that for making a pattern in something, but I'm going to try and make a box. So let's see how that goes. This could either be a what not to do or a how to do it video. Beneath me here, I'll just take the clamps off. Well, it was one piece of jarrah that I cut in two, planed down and then glued back to itself to make it wider. So I've got a wide piece of jarrah here. There we go. And I will be attempting to make the box out of that. Now, that's much bigger than the final box, obviously. Obviously, the final box is going to be smaller than that. But let's have a look. Okay, so I've fixed the piece of jarrah to the workbench with a couple of these Festool clamps. And now I was contemplating sticking the template to the surface with double-sided tape. And then it dawned on me, all I have to do is rotate the template slightly and I can screw it in place. Much more secure. So here we go. So I'm just going to mark out where I'm going to drill a couple of little pilot holes for screws. If you haven't seen one of these before, this is a Pica dry pencil. You can get different coloured leads, for want of a better word. This certainly isn't lead, this is more like a crayon. You can get different coloured inserts for them anyway, as well as normal graphite. Handy for when you're working on darker timbers, because of course graphite doesn't show up so well on some of the darker timbers, but white certainly does. Alright, so we're going to drill a couple of little pilot holes in there. It's one thing to be aware of if you've never worked with jarrah before and you're about to, is when you're drilling it, you have to move the drill out of the wood often and clear the flutes of the drill bit often. Because it will basically bake on to the drill bit and clog the flutes if you don't do that. And you saw how quick that one became clogged then. You have to gouge it out with something. And of course it's very hot at that point, don't use your fingers. So now I'm just going to fix the frame into place with a couple of square drive 8-gauge screws. And the reason I'm using square drive is because we'll be repeatedly, well not repeatedly, but certainly we'll be taking these out and putting them back in again. And it's a lot easier with square drive than it is with Phillips, which just seem to wear out too quick. And yes, I would use Torx if they were more readily available. Okay, so there we go. So that'll be the outside of our box basically. So it's going to be a very small box. And the reason I'm making such a small box is it's actually going to be for an overseas visitor to take back with them. So it needs to be something small and easy to pack, not too heavy. And at the same time, it's a bit of local wood, so it's something unique to Western Australia. So hopefully it'll make a decent present. I'm going to use my OF2200 router from Festool. And yes, it is a very big router for this particular job, but I'm using it for two reasons. One, it has these interchangeable base plates, so I can get extra surface area for balancing. And it's also the only router I have a wide selection of template following guides for. And we're going to be relying heavily on the template following guides here for getting different sizes, as well as, of course, the 3 templates. So 17 is the one we're going to start with. Nice and small, bring us close to the edge. And we're going to get a nice big router bit to go in there, so we can remove as much material as possible. I'm going to use this spiral upcut router bit, and the reason for that is, if you can see as it spins, it's going to pull the dust up towards the router and therefore help pull the router out, pull the dust out of the hole as we go, and should leave us with a far better finish than if we just used a straight router bit. Okay, so that's the first portion done. So we'll remove our smallest template there, and as you can see, that's come out beautifully and clean on the inside. Okay, so the centre's finished. The next part is to do the outside and the lip. Now I'm going to switch to a plug. The outside of the plug is the same size as the inside of the small template here for the love hearts. Balance the router on the plug and these two little outriggers I've made. And I'm using my largest template following guide just to space it so as I know I won't hit it. There's been a little bit of squeeze out from the hot melt glue, and it's important that I clean that up before trying to do the outside of the box, because I don't want any lumps. I don't want the template following guide going boop, boop, boop around on the plastic, on the glue, sorry. I've added a couple more of these little outboard supports just to stop the router from tipping, and I'm just going to keep going, just going a little bit deeper each time. I've cut out the outside of the box now, and so the next step is to change to a smaller template following guide and route a lip around the box for the lid. So the next template following guide I'm using is 27mm. The previous one was 30, so this is 3mm smaller. Okay, so I've gone round it and left a 3mm indentation all the way around the edge. Now I'm going to go over and change to a smaller template following guide again, and we'll route out a little bit more to make more of a lip. I'll turn the power off to the router while I change template following guides. So we're going from 27 down to 24. So that's the base of the unit cut out now. So the thing to do now is to remove the plug and the offsets, to cut it away from the excess wood, and then we'll move on to making a lid.
Oh, actually, no, that did soften it. It did too.
So that's the base of the box cut out. What I've done, there were just some little gum holes. By gum, of course, I mean resin within the wood. Had left little holes behind here, so I put a little bit of filler on there. That's drying at the moment, and that will sand out obviously before we varnish. So the next stage is to make the lid, and I'm going to make the lid in much the same way. So we're starting off. I've planed the offcut flat again after I'd passed it through the bandsaw. This is the same piece of timber, so all the colouring should match. After planing the offcut board from behind to make the lid flat on the thickness planer, I've popped it back on the bench, put the frame back in place, and we're going to use the same template we used before to route a gap in the middle, a little indent in the middle. We're only going to go 5mm deep, because its main purpose in life is to hold the plug, and the plug will then allow us to cut the outside. Okay, so to set the bit depth, we're going to plunge down until the cutter hits the wood and lock it in place like so. Then push the depth stop down till it hits the turret here and zero that. There we go, that's zero there. And then we're going to bring it up 4mm to allow for the recess on the plug, and that's our maximum depth of cut. Oh, that plug's a good fit. Excellent. Now here's the thing with the lid. I've got the plug in place, which I'll glue in place with hot melt glue in just a moment. In fact, I'll get that heating while we're talking about it. But I'm going to need to put the frame back again. Here's why. So what we're going to do is we're going to route the outside of the box using the plug and the blue offsets that we used before. So here on the box itself, you can see we've got the indentation to allow for the lid. So what we're going to need to do on the actual lid, of course, is route this center part out all the way up to that point, and then just leave this 5mm of wood around the edge to clip over. So now I have my plug and my supports in place, and so it's just a case of following around here with the 30mm template following guide and the upcut spiral bit. There, okay. As you can see here, I'm going through and applying a stain and varnishing one. It's a Jarrah based stain and varnish, and I'm applying it to the top and bottom here. You can see I'm really pooling it on thick, and that's so as it'll soak right into the pores of the wood. Here I'm just blotting off some of the excess off the rim. There we go. And again, I'm just going to wipe off the excess here. Again, we're not too worried about the surface finish at this point. It's all going to be sanded and redone. Again, this was a flood and soak layer. Wow, it's starting to look beautiful. Excellent. All right, a few more coats to go and we will be done. So the first layer of finish is dried overnight, and now it's time to carry on. So I'm going to sand that at 320, then 400, apply another coat, and I'll just keep doing this until it's got some sort of depth to the shine. I'm not trying to go a high gloss, just sort of some reflective depth in the wood, but you'll see what I mean shortly. Well, I think that's enough coats of the varnish and stain. That's coming up quite shiny. So now I'm just going to finish it off with a paste wax. I think I'll go with that one actually, that one smells nicer. Now the main reason I'm waxing the inside of the box, of course, is to make it smell nice. It'll also protect the wood, but then it's already had a coat of varnish inside as well, so the wood should be well protected. Alright, so I'm going to pop them together now and polish up the outside of it. We've got more than enough wax here. Nice. So you can see this is the finished product. I think it's come out quite nicely. There we go. That's what it really looks like. As you can see, the lid fits very well and doesn't fall off, and that's because we've used templates to cut it out. The joy of using a template is you can get very tight tolerances and therefore very tight fits on things like this. And so here it is, the finished product. Hopefully that's been of some use. Have a really great day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.